here on a mission. Call it in, call it in, call it in.
You are listening to Navigating Towards the New Earth with Mel M. Rubin. What a beautiful episode this was with Malaine Leah Butler, the alignment queen. Malaine helps boss babes align their business and their life with human design so they can create extraordinary results. And in this episode, we talk about aligning ourselves with our life's purpose, the beauty of following our heart, scaling our businesses, as well as, of course, human design. So I'm very, very excited to introduce you. And if you find value in this, please share this and tag us. Hey Malaine, thank you so much for being here. In essence of the start of every episode, I would absolutely love for you to go into your story in respects to what led you to the work that you're currently doing today in respects to the New Earth leadership role that you're choosing to play.
Oh, Earth, what a delicious ride we are on here on this journey of the hologram we've chosen to live in. I'm so excited to be here with you, Mel. And as a 3-5 profile generator, human design calls us the great life experimenter. And so prior to really understanding that, I probably would have been telling my story, and not from a space of shame or guilt or anything like that, but not really knowing where to start because there's the great life experimenter, it's plentiful. But now I can really share with you from a place of understanding and really love and admiration for the journey that I've been on. So back in 2015, I was working for a life coaching company, and I lived in Manhattan, and I thought that was it. Like, I had made it. I was in a company that I loved. I loved the work that I was doing. They had scouted me out to bring me in. Everything was amazing. Like, I had designer shoes and designer handbags. Like, what else could a girl want, you know? I was in my late 20s, early 30s, loving life. Like, everything was going great. Dating life wasn't as great, but that was like a work in progress. And I remember walking out, it was around beginning of 2015. I was walking out late one night from the building that I worked in, and I was stopped dead in my tracks. And this premonition washed over me, this vision washed over me. And basically it was like, I think everyone has intuitive capabilities that they can expand on all levels. When people are like, oh, well, I'm very clairaudient or clairsentient or clair this or clair that. And I'm like, I think everyone has the ability to have all of those activated. But at that time, the one that was really present for me most was that clairsentient, like just this deep inner knowing. So it was like, it stopped me dead in my tracks, and this washed over me. It was like the intel just downloaded, and the message said, you're being fired. You're going to be fired, and you're leaving Manhattan. I'd been there for 7 years. My whole identity was wrapped in, the Upper East Side girl that had made it from Jersey, and designer and all the things. I had a huge community, a huge network. I was working on myself. Everything seemed to be great. And so when that happened, I thought, what? Like, it really threw me back, because I had thought I made it. I thought that I healed. I thought that everything was done. I thought the work was done. And that now I just got to collect the evidence of how amazing I was, and how naive that is to look back in this moment. But also, when we know better, we do better. And it's all good. And so a week later, I got fired from the position that I thought I'd be at forever. And everyone was just as sideswiped. I wasn't as sideswiped because I had that premonition, but I was making a lot of money there, making them a lot of money. So there was no real reasoning. And when my boss called me in, I just put my hand on his heart and said, I know you're about to fire me, and I just want to thank you for the journey that we've been on together. It was like I was channeling my highest possibility ever in that moment. And he started crying. he literally started crying before he fired me. He was like, you are the most amazing being. You have an Oprah energy. Your energy is not meant to be bottled up. You need to go fly. You need to go soar. And so I actually ended up negotiating the terms in which I got to leave. And they ended up ripping up my non-compete contract, which meant that I could start my life coaching business immediately. And I could take clients from that pool of people that I had been working with and connecting with. So within the first 6 months of my business launching, I hit 6 figures within 6 months. And I always preface by saying that it wasn't an overnight sensation. It was about 4 years of building a network and a community prior in Manhattan, volunteer coaching for years for free, like really doing the legwork. And then when I started to launch my own business, within 6 months, it took off. And I also had negotiated terms for them to promote my business. So I left the premonition was great because it gave me some insight on what I had desired to do. It got me clear before the event occurred. And then the next step was leaving Manhattan because that was also in the premonition. And things just started to effortlessly unfold. It was like a string. And as I pulled it, the whole story started to unravel. And I was being led by God. I choose to say God, but each person listening in spirit, source, universe, etc. And that led me to traveling the world for 2 years by myself, which is how I met my now husband. And as I was traveling, I was building my business. And coincidentally, being courageous, being brave, traveling the world by yourself, sharing that online was really attractive for other people. So my business exploded because I was doing things that most people only dreamt of doing. I lived in Bali for some time. I know you're living in Bali now. I was in Ubud for about a month and a half and just traveling all over, and met my now husband. And so now I reside in Auckland, New Zealand. I've been here for 7 years. My business has expanded and exploded and made millions of dollars and served hundreds of people. And everything was tracking along great. And I'm like, that's it. This is amazing. I've made it. It's like, if there were a movie ever to be made of my life, the foreshadow is the moment I feel like I've made it and I'm okay and all is well, is like the moment that the next big wave is about to hit. Yeah, it's like, doo, 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 doo. And so in 2021, my third child, Noah, passed away at full term, which was a huge, what's the word that I want to use? Initiation, dark night of the soul, an experience that completely sideswiped me again. This time, the premonition came only a day prior to him passing. And so the night before he passed, I had this notion and this inner knowing that he was going to die. And I quickly pushed that to the side because no mother wants to accept that that's going to be a truth. And I thought, no, definitely not. And then the next day he had passed away. And I thought, oh my God, I remember sitting in there getting the scan and saying to my midwife, I had this premonition last night, but I thought that I didn't. She's like, well, no one can be in acceptance of that. Like no one would want to accept that as truth. And so that really embarked me on a journey from 2021, May of 2021 until the beginning of 2023 of really burning everything back to the ground and getting curious about, well, who am I? Why am I here? What is it that I want to do? Am I happy? Am I truly happy? And just really revisiting and re-questioning everything I knew as truth, because it just felt like upside down world. Everything I thought was true about manifestation and life, etc., didn't feel true anymore. And so I just went on this rediscovery of self. And so, I mean, look, if I could have my son back, I would, no question. But because the experience has happened, it has given me the gift of living and aliveness and going all in on life. And so now I like to say that I'm living for him and for me. And so everything I do is from this 10x lens of we're going to go all in. Like, we're going to do everything. We're going to get to the end of this ride and just be grateful that we squeeze the juice out of life. And I'm grateful for him for that. And so this year I'm like, I'm all in. Not that I wasn't all in the past year and a half, but I really wasn't. I was in a really deep grieving season of my life, carrying my daughter for a year. Pregnancy after loss is another huge warrior walk. I like to say to people, pregnancy after loss is like if you had lost a loved one in the 9/11 experience. It's like going back to ground zero every single day and revisiting that trauma. That's what it's like, carrying a child, knowing that the last experience ended in a death and not knowing, and also having that naivete stripped from you, the innocence stripped from you, knowing that death happens and it can happen to anyone. So it's a really wild experience. And so my job for the past year and a half was like bringing her earthside. And then once she was here and alive and happy and thriving, I was like, okay, it's time to go the next level again. And so 2023, I've been all in and really bringing human design to the forefront of my business, because it's given me this aliveness and this purpose and mission again, to really supporting people and finding their aliveness, their juiciness, their true alignment to self. And yeah, like now my business is on track for multiple millions. It's freaking amazing. I've released a ton of weight. I feel the most alive that I've ever felt in my entire life. And now I'm talking to you.
Amazing. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. And I received so many goosebumps through that story. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you for that. And I love how you mentioned at the end, in respects to your business and the success, and that you're on track to make multi-millions and you've dropped all of these weights. And it really does get to be simple. However, for it to get simple, it's really important that we first do the work and we become aware of the work that gets to be done. And what I found being in the industry, mixed affiliate marketing industry as well as coaching industry over the last 6 years, and going through my journey of transformation and also observing people as the reflector that I am and taking in all of this stuff, I noticed that people believe, because it's the way that we've been trained as a collective, that to really get on track to the millions, the multi-millions, even if you don't want to get to the millions, it takes like hard work in respects to the do, whereas it's actually the complete opposite. Like the do is definitely part of it, and the leg work is part of it, as you mentioned, we're building the community networking. But a really huge part of it, I've personally found on my journey, and also witnessing other people that are in this space and generating millions and multi-millions, is the hard work. Because it is hard, but then when you get there, it's not really that hard, is in the being and is in the alchemizing and transmuting whatever densities, toxicities, negativities, and pain that is within us. So I'd really love for you to expand on what I've said in whichever direction you wish to take that.
Yeah, I love this conversation, because the other thing that I did in the beginning of 2023 was double down on my inner work. And so, yes, I have a mentor that I work with my business. Absolutely. I'm in different communities to support my business. Absolutely vital, essential, but critical, crucial that someone is supporting me to go under the hood of my car, i.e. my insides of what's going on inside here, to support me in really healing that. Because I know that in order to activate that next level identity, I need to be able to open up, to expand my capacity to receive. And it's no mistake that now I'm doing weekly somatic healing around my traumas throughout my life. And I thought, oh, well, it'll probably be primarily my son's passing. Like, that'll be the trauma that we work on. Oh, no. Well, let me tell you, sister. How long do we got? And I have found the most amazing therapist that does somatic embodiment and tapping and all of these different modalities to support me in releasing. And, you know, I'll go in like a good girl. Okay, today I'd like to cover. And she just starts laughing. She's like, yeah, that's not how this works. Because I'm really wanting to steer, direct, guide. I want to get there. I want to get to the next level. I want to get the result. I want to get. And that's not how the work works. And so she brings me through a meditation experience. And then whatever kind of pops up, which is never what I've planned, never what I thought would come up. And then we go there. And a lot of things I've realized that we dismiss that it's not trauma, or it was just an experience that was kind of shitty or bad or whatever. And we deem it as not trauma, or our beautiful beings black it out as a survival technique because it would be too painful to carry. And that's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But when we are able to be with the pain and like really be with it, then it's able to start being released and dissolved, but not as a way of excavating to get it and throw it out. It's like actually sitting and holding the pain. And I have found the more I'm able to hold my pain and release it with love, I'm able to receive higher levels of wealth, not as a get. It just naturally starts to happen. Now, I think the do piece is important in that we need to show up. Like we need to have our shingle out to say that we're open for business so that people can buy or have links, etc. For sure. Although, you know, that being said, I was in a mastermind once and this woman, she used to make like millions of dollars. And a lot of the money was just dropping in from these random things like contests that she never entered. It was like she had this truth that she activated in her life that large sums of money always showed up in her account. I don't even know what she did as an entrepreneur. She was just making all this money doing nothing, like winning these prizes that she never entered. I was like, this is genius. This is amazing. And so I have found that the more I go in, the more that shows up outside, the more people change. People that I was blown away, like my mother-in-law showed up in a way. My husband said, has she had a lobotomy? Like, has she had a lobotomy? Because she's been showing up so profoundly different, like loving and compassionate and kind. We were mind blown. And as I got on my session, because I see my therapist weekly, I'm like, this is working. She's like, do you want to stop? I'm like, oh no, we're not stopping. We're going to keep going. And I share with her these things. She's like, of course, Malaine, everyone's going to start changing. It's so good.
I love that. And it really goes to show how magical life is when we do the work and when we change the structure of our energetic resonance. And, you know, for things to change, we first must change. Whereas I know I used to be in the state, like before I started my journey, where I wanted things to change in my life and I expected things to fall on my lap. I expected things to change for me and people to change for me. And it wasn't until I actually started to do the internal work to master my mind, master my emotions, work on my energy, that my external reality and my external relationships started to change for me. And things just magically started to appear. And like, it's amazing how you mentioned this woman in the mastermind where money just shows up, because if you have that belief, it will happen. Like our life is what we believe. Our external reality reflects our internal reality. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's absolutely fantastic. And congratulations as well for going deeper and exploring more of the magic that life has to offer. It's fantastic. And this is I guess, prove to the listener, if you're in like an in-between space, that anything can happen if you just do the work, which is a really big part of the creation of a better future, not only for ourselves, but for our children, our families, and specifically the new world and the new earth. So thank you so much. I really want to dive deeper into your human design work. Because yes. I came across human design back in 2020, no, at the end of 2019. And for me, it was very validating to learn about my design being a reflector, because I would always say to myself, why am I a different person around different people? Why do I act different? Because I'm not trying to do it to be fake, because I'm not. I'm just being myself. And why am I different? And then when I read about reflectors, I was like, that makes sense. Especially, what was you going to say?
No, I'm just saying yes, indeed.
Just agreeing. And like there's a lot in there, because of course there's centers and there's gates, and for me as well, like I have gone through life, I had the trifecta as the reflector, right? And I love that rhymes. So like I'm your purest mirror. Everyone's a mirror, but where all of my centers are open, I've got the purest mirror. I'm also a 5-1 with the projection line, and I also have the gate of friction. So I went through life getting all of this from people like, why doesn't anyone like me? What have I done wrong? I'm really nice. And like when I found out about it, it was really validating for me. So I'm curious to understand your journey with human design and why you've specifically decided to incorporate it into your coaching, because it is a very powerful modality, and I understand that everyone looks at it differently. So I'd love to hear your viewpoint on it.
Yeah, totally. I think I was introduced to human design in 2015 when I was living in Kauai, which is the smallest island on the Hawaiian chain. Very similar experience to Bali, I should say. I feel like when you're on an island that is created from volcano materials and there's water all around you, there's very volatile experiences that can happen and very reflective experiences that are created. And so there's a lot of soul work that starts to happen, whether or not you're ready for it.
Yeah.
And so when I was there,
it's funny that you say that. It's funny that you say that, because they say about Bali, she'll either swallow you right up or spit you right back out, and she'll spit you out if you're not ready to do the work.
Yeah, totally. And New Zealand is a small country that's an island that is made all from volcanoes. So I still, basically live in a similar setting. So it's constantly calling for evolution and what's next, because a volcano is constantly rebirthing itself and evolving, making new. And then the water is reflecting things back. So anyway, in 2015, I'm in Kauai and I'm introduced to human design. Everyone was walking around knowing that, like, I'm a 3-5 sacral Manigen. And I'm like, what? What is that? What are you? What's your human design? I'm like, I'm a human. I'm perfectly designed. What are you talking about? I was so confused. And then I had a few readings and they're like, oh, you're a generator. That's what a lot of people are. And I'm like, no, I am not like a lot of people. This does not resonate at all. I am very unique. I'm very different. This doesn't make sense. And then they were telling me I was the great life experimenter, and then I'm going to go through all these experiences. And I just was like, no, it doesn't resonate. And I kind of blew it to the side. And it kept coming back in my sphere. 2016, 2017 kept coming back in, 2018 kept coming back in. And I would bring some experts into my masterminds and let them talk about it. I'm like, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's great. And then in 2019, I started to really look at my chart from a different vantage point and understanding, as a sacral generator, how my inner authority works, that yes, no, that gut reaction, that visceral reaction. And it made a lot of sense because my whole life, my parents told me that I was too impulsive and then I would just fly off the seat of my pants and do whatever I wanted. And if it was a yes, I was all in, and then I would make mistakes and trip up. And that was my 3-line energy. That was my 3-5 and my sacral authority. And so in last year, in 2022, I decided to get certified in human design. It kept coming up in my sphere. And I was like, yes, let's do this. And that's how a generator's life works. We basically are meant to lean back, trust, create the space, do the inner work, and all the things start showing up for us to respond to. And so when I really started to embody it last year, my life just took off like a rocket ship. It was just like, and so I had to start incorporating it in my business. My business has been around for 8 years. So I really started to bring it into my business and into the forefront. I got certified, and wildly, as I'm getting certified, my eldest son gets diagnosed with epilepsy. He has 2 seizures during my certification process. And understanding my profile, understanding my design, understanding his design, I was able to approach that situation like open arms. Okay, what do you got for us, life? Because we're here, we're ready, we're all in. Bring it. We'll deal with it. It's all good, you know? And so now I can say that he's 7 months seizure free, which is amazing. But the understanding human design, embodying human design, has given me the gift of becoming a better mother, a better coach, a better human, not just because I understand myself so greatly, but I can understand you and my kids and my husband and my clients. And I can say to them with integrity, that formula isn't going to work. And especially having a 3-line energy, I can say, not only does that formula not work, but I tried it. So I'm going to save you the time and I'm going to save you the energy. But I also, like you, have the 5 line. So I'm a 3-5, a little bit different than a 5-1. So the analogy that I like to use is that if you and I were going hiking together and we were the hike leaders, you're the 5-1, I'm the 3-5. The 5-1 would show up and say, all right, guys, I have the map. I know exactly how to get to the top. I've actually went onto Google Maps and I looked at it, so I know all the pitfalls and such. So follow me. We're going to make it. And I'm going to make sure that no one gets hurt. And I would say, I don't have a map, but I have a bushwhacker thing. So if we get in trouble, we'll just knock things down and we're going to figure it out. And if we get hurt, we'll fix it on our way. So that's kind of like the difference. Like there's leadership qualities, but the type of leadership is a little different. You might research a little more or collect the data and evidence or have the insight and intel to say, well, the reason why this water is so delicious is because of these qualities and these minerals, where I'd say, oh, it's just good. Like I drank it. It's great. It worked for me. It'll work for you. There's different styles. My lived life experience will be the alchemy that becomes my wisdom. Whereas you might have some of that, but a lot of yours will also be from research and collecting data and collecting intel from, yes, life, but also from like sitting down and learning too. And you'll alchemize those things together. But like you were saying with the projections, I have a 5-line, you have a 5-line. I'm not a reflector, but I have every energy center open except for 3. So that's 6 out of 9. It's a lot of openness. And so I get a lot of projections. I get a lot of things flung onto me. And it's not as the victim. Oh, life stinks and this is happening. Although a 3-line that I have could go there. It's the martyr in the shadow. But it's just having the awareness. And we were talking about this offline, that as a 5, you will be the everything, is what I like to call the 5s. The everything that people love to love, or the everything that people love to hate, or the one that they love to hate, or the one that they love to not hate, or they love to follow. It's funny. So every time someone follows me on Instagram, my team does their best to reach out to new people. And recently there was this woman that followed me, and I was like, why hasn't my team reached out to her? So I went, because I had seen that she was new. And I went to the messages and realized that she had followed me at the beginning of the year, unfollowed me, and now is re-following me, which is a very common occurrence for we 5 lines. People will go, oh yes, I love them, they're amazing, and they'll follow us and they're all about us, and they're, you know, the sun shines out of our ass and the rainbows, you know, are shooting from our earlobes, and we are literally God incarnate. We are their God, and they love us. And the moment we do wrong, we are dead.
Oh God. Literally, I've been through it all, like with especially with my business as well, like all of the projections and they're putting me on a pedestal, and then because they feel like I have all of the answers, but I'm also human too, you know, I'm not perfect. And yes, I have the answers, and most of the time I have a solution, but I can't help you unless you help yourself, right? And you know, it's a blessing and a curse. And when I was unaware of it all, really, if I'm honest with you, I would be like, well, why? Like, what have I done wrong? But now I'm like, oh, now I understand. It's not me, it's you. You get to embody this. You get to embody the emotional intelligence. You get to embody understanding how to deal with your triggers and understanding when you're projecting. And it's funny because we were just speaking about this in respects to the 5-1 and me recently getting close to another 5 line and me feeling the projections coming out of me. But because of the fact that I've done the work and I understand, oh, it's not them, it's me, I get to deal with this and go away and do the work. I'm not affecting the relationship. And this is really important when moving forward with any kind of relationship, to understand what's coming up in our internal reality when it comes to the projections and what's going on, so we don't like ruin it essentially in any relationship, whether that be intimate, friendships, coaching, mentorships, any kind of work relationships. So how has that worked for you personally?
The projection piece?
Yeah, like, because you're another 5 line who has also dealt with other 5 lines. So how has that worked for you, like coming towards you, but also you being with other 5 lines, feeling that coming up for you?
Yeah, totally. So I see it, my COO of my company is a 5-2. So I can see, and a 5-2 happens to be one of the harmonious profiles, whereas a 3-5-5-1 non-harmonious. So it can happen in the savior paradigm.
What's the difference between those?
Yeah, so here's the deal. A 2-5 and a 5-2 have 5 lines, but they have a harmonious profile, whereas a 3-5 and a 5-1, you and I, our profiles are non-harmonious, meaning that we have energies that kind of go like this. So the 3 energy in its shadow is the martyr, the victim. Why is life happening to me? I don't understand. The 3 energy is at its highest possibility is the phoenix from the ashes. They're gonna burn. They're gonna go through more life lived experiences than any other profile. Anyone that has a 3 or a 6 that operates as a 3 for half their life. So they're going to have these phoenix from the ashes moments, not once in a lifetime, once a day. They're going to have them, like once a week. It's going to be very plentiful. And so in their shadow, they're going to want to quit or opt out. I hate life. Everything's happening to me. And so it's and then the 5 is the leader energy, is the heretic, is like, come on, let's go. We must speak boldly and bravely and just burn bridges. You know, like we must go out there. And I always think of Martin Luther, the guy that started Lutheranism, the religion, because he pounded the church door with his new rules of religion or whatever. That's the heretic, and that's the 5 line at its like extreme, but it's a leader energy. It's a messenger energy. We're here to deliver a message to the masses, one that is, say surface level, but very relatable. So we're taking esoteric ideas and bringing them to a more tangible, relatable, understandable way for people. And so there was like this, I will save the day. And the victim is like, and I will not, because I hate everyone, you know, so they're going like this.
I love that.
So we have to find this like synergy to go, well, but if I use my life experience, if I alchemize that shit, I can become a phenomenal leader. Aha. All right. Okay, then. And for you, the one energy, the shadow of the one, is the investigator. Now, in the highest format, the one is the authority in their field, because they know their stuff, and they know their stuff. And when you walk in a room, you're like, I know what I know a little bit better than everyone else. It's just true, because I've researched it, because I've lived it, because I'm just amazing. And if I don't know, I'll find out within a split second, because I get to the bottom of everything. But the investigator shadowy aspect of the one is like this interrogator, where people feel like they're at the police station being questioned by you, right? You're like, well, when did that happen? Well, you know, I don't know, last week on when, no, you said it was on Tuesday, and now you're saying it's Wednesday. So I'm a little bit confused here, because you said Tuesday, then you said this is the one in its shadow. And I like to say too, the one in its shadow, it's not asking questions out of curiosity. It's asking questions to lead you to a truth that they believe is the truth, in order to trap you in that truth. And so the person feels manipulated. The person feels like they're being investigated. The person feels this interrogation going on, and it doesn't feel good to be on that side of the one. So that one's like, no, I know you're wrong, and I'm going to ask you questions until you admit that you lied to me. And the 5 lines like, hello, I'm the leader. Let's share the message. And the one and in its shadow can hold the 5 back. So there's like these dueling, you know, and what can also happen for both of these lines, 3-5, or both of these profiles, 3-5 and 5-1, is that the savior paradigm can happen, where we want to save, we want to help, we want to overgive, and we do, and then we get burnt. And we're like, what happened? I was nothing but nice. I loved them all the live long day, and now they've burnt me. What's going on? Whereas when it's the 5-2 or the 2-5, the 2 is the hermit. And so they know when to answer the right calls, and they'll tend to have really good boundaries and standards around them. So yes, they're going to save the day when they can, in their timeline, on their terms. So it's a different experience. So it's a little more harmonious. So like I said, my assistant is a 5-2, and she'll say, I'll be like, oh, this project and that project need to get done. And she'll go, yep, this is the timeline. This is when I'll get it done. I'm going to bed now. Like, she's really good with taking care of herself, setting her boundaries, knowing what she can and cannot do. And I can see, like, when things go wrong or there's a mistake, that I'm wanting to like blame her, like, it's you did it all. And I know that that's just a projection. I'm like, it's not her fault. It's an experience that was created from different variables moving, but I can feel that. And vice versa. I know when it's being flung onto me. So with my team, everyone's very familiar with their designs. I give each of them a reading every month where we dive into their design and support them in understanding how they best will thrive within the business, within their role, and how they can notice, you know, certain things. What really is the most fascinating to me, aside from the energy type, is the profile, because I think it really tells a lot about a person.
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. And it's funny that you mention in respects to the boundaries and burning yourself out, because it's certainly lessons that I've got to learn myself over the last couple of years when it comes to my energy and my boundaries, specifically my overgiving as well.
Yeah.
And like putting things in place for myself that really respect my time and my energy. I'm curious, because you went into the one line in respects to the shadow and the questioning. Yes. What would it be in the authority with the conversation and the questioning, so to speak, in the highest kind of version?
Yeah, so like the one's highest possibility is they become the authority in the field because they know how to research, they know how to collect the data, synergize it, alchemize it into their wisdom, right? So one could go into, let's say, a course on, I don't know, human design or baton twirling, let's just say, right? And they're going to learn and they're going to take the best notes out of the class. You know, like I just did a training on the 1-3 profile, and the 1-3 in the class says to me, will we be getting this PowerPoint presentation afterwards? And I'm like, yeah, like, sure, if you want it. I wasn't going to give it to you, but yeah, if you want it, sure. Because she wants every ounce of intel and information so that she can alchemize, learn it, study it, embody it, implement it, like it becomes your wisdom. So in its highest possibility, you become the leader, the authority, the teacher, the guide. And so 5-1s, amazing leaders, teachers, guides, right? Because you have the 5, which is the messenger of the masses, and the 1 that's the authority in the field. Now, as the 5 line is first, you will be aware that you're the leader, that you have the ability to deliver a message to the masses, and you will be well aware of the projections that are put onto you. So you'll get to a space of, bring it. What do you got? What do you got for me? What are you projecting onto me today? You're like, I don't care, because the 5, whatever number is first is the one that we're aware of. The number that's second is the one everyone else is aware of. So people will see you, Mel, as the authority in the field, right? They'll go, oh, Mel knows her stuff. I know she's very well versed in this. I know she's really amazing at that. They'll see that. What you'll see is the 5, but they'll see the 1. So it's the same for me, a little different though. The 3's first. So I know I learned through trial and error. I know my life experience alchemized is my sage wisdom. I know that about me. I know that. What I won't know so much is the projection. So when people project onto me, even now that it's brought to an awareness, the shadow of that is like, I shine. I'm like, okay, Harry. And then someone projects. And I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't want to do that. And it's like, okay, well, a little bit bigger this time. Okay, here I am. And then someone does it. And I'm like, oh, I don't like that. Whereas you'll be able to move past it a little faster because it's in my unconscious, the 5 line, my unconscious son. It'll take me more time to really embody that and embrace that these projections happen. But back to your question of the 1, basically the authority, the expert, the go-to person. It's like, like you know. So what I always say to 1 lines is, when you know, don't keep asking the questions, because that will stop you from living in your authority space. Don't ask the question that you already know the answer to. Only ask it if you're really curious to learn something new. And when you show up in the online space or any space, and in your business in particular, but any area of your life, own what you know, because we can sense that you know it. So when you go, I'm not sure, we find it arrogant. And you're like, oh, I'm just being nice because I don't really know. But we can sense that you do. So once you've become the authority, and everyone is an authority up to a certain point in areas of their life, when you own that with conviction, it makes you so magnetic. It's like when you question, doubt, or say, do you think I'm good at this? What do you think I'm good at? It's like you're fishing.
Yeah. Okay, I hear that. And
to get that.
It's funny that you say that as well, because I do own what I know, but then being a reflector, I feel the projections even when they're not projecting. It's so funny. Like, even if I'm on Zoom, I'm like, I can see and I can feel the projections from other people. So it's been a huge like journey of embodiment for me when it comes to my strength and my surety and my confidence in who it is that I am, and not taking it personally. So what would your biggest piece of advice be to people when it comes to the 5 line specifically?
Yeah.
as someone that is currently like experiencing the projections and like, you know, becoming more aware of them day by day.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll say with like reflectors as yourself is that because you guys don't have any buffer, no buffer, but anyone that has a body graph that has more openness or undefined centers wants to be mindful of this. I think that we say this to reflectors a lot and people are like, yeah, they're so rare. They're so rare. And I'm like, what you guys need to understand is that while you're not fully a reflector, if you have a lot of openness in your chart, you too are reflecting things. That's okay. You too are reflecting things. You too are picking up on other people's stuff, if you will, emotions, feelings, thoughts, fears, anxieties, etc., depending on which, you know, area is open. But as far as the 5 line, what I'd say to someone that's just starting on this path, or, you know, just having the awareness that they have a 5 line and that projections might be coming on to them, is just be so gentle with yourself. You know, like this game of inner work and expanding and evolving is not for the faint of heart. It's why a lot of people don't do it. It's why a lot of people don't want to wake up. It's why we say, oh, I don't understand why people are so happy being asleep. They're so happy being asleep because it doesn't take a lot of work or effort or anything, really. You know, they're so happy being asleep because all they have to do is worry about what kind of beer they're going to buy on the weekend to get drunk, and then watch the news and, you know, what jabby jab they're going to, you know, put in their arm this month. So it's like, that's why it's fine for them to be asleep, because they don't have to really effort into anything. And when you're doing this work of the inner journey, having awareness of who you are and what supports and doesn't support you, it takes a lot of unraveling and deconditioning. And I don't want to say like so much efforting, maybe that's not the correct word, but it does take a lot of courage and it does take a lot of bravery to keep showing up for yourself. I remember, you know, even more recently, deciding to go really deep with my therapist. And after the first session, it was just like, I wear fake lashes, and I think like my lashes were like breaking off like all over my face, and I'm just like swollen and messy and gross. And she thought for sure I wasn't coming back the next week. And I kind of thought, well, maybe I wasn't, like up until the next day, I was like, you know what, but I'm doing well. My business is doing well. Do I really need this? It was kind of like this oscillation between go, don't go, go, don't go. And I showed up, and she was like, that fucking takes courage and bravery to keep showing up to do this excavation work. And I'm like, yo, I'm in it to win it, girl. Like we're too far down the rabbit hole to turn around, you know? So my invitation to anyone that has a 5 line or anything going on in your chart that makes you scared or nervous or whatever is just to know that, be gentle with yourself, have patience, be kind to yourself, love yourself, and know that you're exactly where you need to be. There's nowhere else you need to be but just right here, just right now, and just take it one day at a time. And I promise it really is worth it in the long run to do the work.
Yeah, definitely. And really and truly, the bravery comes from the complete honesty with self, because when we are asleep and when we are navigating through this physical reality with only our egoic mind, we like to portray ourselves to being perfect. I didn't do anything wrong. It was them. It was them. It was them. I am here because of them, because of the government, because I was born here, and all of that stuff. And we project our position onto other people rather than taking full ownership and responsibility for where we're at, completely forgetting that we always have a choice. And it's really coming back to, okay, well, what choice am I making right now? And is it benefiting me and my higher good and the higher good of the future of this planet and generations and all of that good stuff? Or is this an unconscious decision that's only going to affect me and the people in my life in a detrimental way? And in my perspective, it's really, I mean, we're at a severe time at the moment in humanity, and the only way that things are going to change is if we choose as an individual to make those internal changes. And like you said, it takes bravery, it takes courageousness, it takes showing up every day, and it's not necessarily easy. But what do you want for your children? Because unless you do that work, then the traumas, the internal and ancestral traumas, are just going to be unconsciously passed down to your children, just like they were passed down to you. And the future of the planet will get darker and darker if we stay unconscious, because we're more easily controlled and manipulated when we are asleep, when we are living unconsciously without intentionality. And yes, it's easier in the long run because we don't have to think, but then we end up living a hard life because we settle, we're unhappy, we're unhealthy. Whereas if we do become conscious, yes, it's harder in the first instance, but it creates an easier life for us, because as you mentioned at the start, by doing this work, you've been able to create millions and multi-millions within your business, which has in turn enabled you to build the life that you've built, which has in turn enabled you to employ people so you can support families. And with the money that you've been able to generate, you're able to support like whatever causes that you are really, really passionate about. And this is the beautiful thing about going within and doing the work. So thank you so much for sharing what you have. And for anyone that's listening that's like, oh my God, this is hard work, this is scary, like, you're not on your own. There's people out there that are on the field that are there to support you, that have already done the work, and you really don't need to get to rock bottom like some of us have done to start doing the work. It's all about feeling into the energies of the people that are around you. So as we end this conversation, Malaine, I have 3 questions for you that I'd love for you to answer. So in respects to the listeners, when it comes to everything that we've discussed today, what is your biggest encouragement to the listeners right now?
I think my biggest encouragement would be to listen to that inner voice that's speaking to you, to quiet the external voices and to allow yourself to really start listening to where that inner voice has been leading, guiding, show you. Maybe it's led you here today, but maybe it's been saying to make a move or to quit a job or to break a relationship, and to trust that that voice is your sacred inner authority wanting to speak to you and to guide you to your next level and of expansion. And like Mel said earlier, it is easier to stay asleep for sure, but it is far more delicious and expansive and a ride of a lifetime when you wake up to who you really are and the power that you have. And then you recognize that nothing ever had the fucking power in the first place. It's kind of like, Dorothy, you could have gone home the whole time. You had the shoes on you. Why did you come to Oz?
Exactly. And like we always have the power. It's just where we decide to give it. We can either hold on to it or give it away. And unfortunately, we've been trained to give it away, but now it's time for us to take it back. So this leads in nicely to the next question. What is your vision for the new Earth?
My vision for the new Earth is for people to have their truths and their voice listened to without judgment and with love, regardless of their vantage or viewpoint, but just to have it listened to with love. And for each of us to have our own perspective without judgment. Like, you want to fly? Great. You want to roll around on the ground? Great. You want to eat apples for the rest of your life? Amazing. You want to eat chips for the rest of your life? Amazing. Awesome. You want to just be a vegan? Great. You want to be a meat eater? Amazing. Let's trust that we each have our own inner guru, our own sovereignty, that we have innate wisdom and know the best for ourselves. And no government, no other person knows better than our inner authority. And let's respect that and find space. We can love each other. We don't have to like each other, but we can love each other. And I think that could make the world, the new earth, a delicious place to be.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And lastly, what is the role that you are choosing to play as a New Earth leader, and how can the listeners work with you and find you if they feel called to?
So the role that I'm playing, I'm on a mission because I've accepted the mission. And I like to say many are called, few answer the calling, but I've answered and I'm accepting the mission, is to support people in coming home to themselves, in finding your aliveness, your alignment, whatever that looks like for you, and helping you with the modality of human design to do that. And I'm also really passionate about supporting people in life after loss. So whether you've lost a child or a loved one. And so a lot of the proceeds from my business go to different foundations that support bereaved parents, widows, women that lose their husbands at early stages of life and have to raise their children alone. And so you can find me on Malaine Leah Butler, all the handles, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, The Alignment Queen as well. If you type in The Alignment Queen, Malaine, you'll find me everywhere, basically. And a lot of the work that I do, I have a lot of free offerings because I want people to have access to the work that I'm doing. I believe that human design is such a missing link and piece to helping people in their evolution. And a lot of the intel out there around human design is quite dire or so complex that you can't understand it in an easy way. And the way that I deliver it, the feedback that I get around it is that it's easy, it's digestible, it's tangible, so that you can actually go implement it and change your life, as opposed to it being this esoteric, nice idea. And so on all of my handles, there's links everywhere, but primarily on Instagram is where I hang out often. And in my bio are links for all the things, freebies, and also memberships that you can come test out for 7 days. And I always say, like, come for a week and play or stay for a lifetime, completely up to you.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Malaine. This has been amazing. And I know that there is so much that we could discuss. So I have no doubt I'll invite you out at a later date so we can go deeper into this, because the design really is such a fantastic tool, and it's not only been fantastic for myself and my own understanding of myself, but also within my business and relationships and dealing with family. So if you haven't already explored human design, I do highly recommend that you do, and Malaine is your go-to girl when it comes to it. So I'm going to be putting all of the links below in the show notes so you can easily find Malaine. But yeah, before we end the conversation, is there anything else that wants to come through you for the listeners?
The last thing I'll say to you guys is the thing that wants to come through is quite funny, which is why it's making me chuckle. And the quote that's coming through is, fuck the noise and go with what you desire. I didn't know that was going to come out, but enjoy it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you and your time. And thank you for everyone that's listening. If you did find value in this, please share and tag us in your stories, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you on the next episode.
Know that you're